Can you hear us? Are you there?
Who's that? Is that Sandy?
Jeremy is actually muted. Jeremy's mic is muted.
Can anybody hear me now?
I can.
Yes, we can hear you, Jeremy.
Yes, we can hear.
Excellent, excellent. Tech is not my friend, but I have got several backups. I've got backup headphones, I've got backup cameras, I've got backup all sorts of things. Excellent, excellent. Thank you all for coming along tonight. It is my intention that we start on time, we finish on time, and we have a fantastic time. So I would like for a couple of people to unmute themselves and ask a couple of questions. We can start with the questions first, and then we'll get into the super duper advanced stuff. So there's basic questions. The only silly question is the one that you don't ask. So please go. Claire, are you there?
Yeah, can you hear me, Jeremy?
Yes, mate. What would you like to know?
Yeah, look, I'm actually losing my voice. I'm not talking too much tonight.
I'm glad I picked you first.
Yeah, so am I. Really glad. So I'm struggling, but I'm here with someone else, Oramis, as well. So
hi, someone else.
Hello.
Oramis.
Yep.
Yeah. So, yeah, so just coming on tonight, I know it's pretty general questions and that, isn't it, for today? It's not a particular topic or anything like that.
Yeah. So what question do you have between you and Oramis?
For example, on what market cycle right now?
Still with us, Claire?
What market site?
Yeah, on what market cycle are we in the beginning?
She seems to have disappeared.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Okay. Well, while we wait for Claire to come back, are you there, Benjamin?
Jeremy, it's you.
Yes, I'm here.
Hello?
Okay, can you hear me, Jeremy?
Jeremy.
Where am I?
I think
you're
the
Benjamin, because I can't hear anything.
I'm here.
Can I make a suggestion? If everybody just mutes while one person's talking, because we've got a lot of feedback and noise from birds in the background.
Somebody say something.
Jeremy, Claire, can you hear me now?
Yeah. Tyler, Claire was talking. I can't hear anybody now, mate. As I said, tech is not my friend, but we are going to figure this out. Okay, hold on a second. Speaker. Where's the controls for this thing? Speakers, microphone.
Hey guys, I was going to say maybe Claire could type the question to Jeremy. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, Tyler. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Jeremy can't hear any of us, so I think Claire, you can actually go to an option and send a text. It says participants. It's a little, you can send your question. He can answer it. We can still hear him. He just can't hear us.
Oh, okay.
Oh, God damn it. I've got some really interesting things to say. Speakers, real tech. Okay. Is anybody hearing me? Matt?
We're all hearing you.
You can hear me now?
Yes.
We can all hear you. We can all
Excellent. Fantastic. I've had to juggle a couple of things around. Natalie, welcome. Thank you. Can you ask me a question, doll?
Do I have to type it?
No, just ask. What do you want to know?
You can hear me?
Yeah, yep.
Awesome. My thing is really about getting started. I have your free Bitcoin, but I still haven't really been guided to where I can go other than the Coinbase, which won't sell in New Zealand, to buy some and stick it in there.
Okay, cool. Getting started. Anybody else just give a wave if they want to know where to get started, like which wallets and which exchanges. The wallet is where you first start and you turn your Australian or US or New Zealand dollars into an actual crypto coin. And then you can use that coin to buy other coins. There might be a few on here who are looking at how do I first get started? Like what's the initial steps? And Natalie and a few others were lucky enough because I've been paying people to share my stuff rather than paying Facebook, so that's been a bit of fun as well. So
hi Jeremy, it's Tracy here.
Yes, welcome Tracy.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. I'm a newbie, so I'm interested in what you just said before.
Yep.
Getting started. Yeah.
Okay. Excellent. Excellent. So Sandy's got a wallet, not sure about the exchanges. Benjamin, best way to learn how to trade. Okay, we'll cover that. What market cycle are we in with crypto? Well, it's all brand new, baby. It's really new. I mean, with the stock market, when I was financial planning, I had a big chart on my wall that was the Australian stock market for 200 years. And in the US, they've had the stock market there for 200 years. In Holland or somewhere in Europe, they had it for about 400 years. And of course, we've had property market ever since man lived in huts. So we can backtrack things, and you can use trading software, and you can say, well, last time a war broke out, this happened, and last time this inflation went up or down, this happened. But with crypto, I mean, Bitcoin's been around for 7-8 years now, and most of the other currencies have only been around in the last 18 months, 2 years. So it's very, very new. There's not really a lot to track it back against. And I'm having a degree of success with just using the same parameters as the stock market. And basically because it's the same thing driving it, which is people's excitement and enthusiasm to get in. Also, what's known as fear and greed. And there is the fear that sometimes when a coin drops down by 20 or 30%, people sell off and panic. But oftentimes the coin will rebound the next day and go up, 300%, 600%, something like that. So there's not really a track record. We're all newbies in this space. Everybody who's in this space is a newbie. There's not really any gurus. There's just people who have read more books than you, basically. Maddie, any questions?
Yes, mate. I've just put a couple $100 in coin jar. I'm in the same position as well. Where to go?
Yep.
You're looking at all the different possibilities and not really knowing where to start.
Sorry, what was that last bit, mate?
Yeah, sorry. I just said I've got some money in coin jar. Just put a couple $100 in there, and just from there, how to put it into a wallet. So where to start with that?
Right. Okay. Alrighty. So there's any other, come on, we're waiting for the ridiculous questions, the ones that you're too embarrassed to ask, but most of the people in here don't know you. So that's okay.
I've got a question.
Yes.
I'm just wondering, what connection have you got with Bitcoin Inc?
With Bitcoin Inc, that's a company that was started up by a few guys who are into Bitcoin very, very early on. One of the guys is Jamie McIntyre, who wrote the book, How to Become a Bitcoin Millionaire, back in 2012, before anybody had heard of Bitcoin, before most people had heard of Bitcoin. I've known Jamie since he wrote his first book, which was Slamming Financial Planners. I was a financial planner at the time who was bagging financial planners. And I actually looked Jamie up. We connected back in, I think, 2000, well, probably 2000. Because it was all about the education, and he's one for educating people to trade their own things rather than relying on robots, rather than relying on these other things. So Jamie's in that organisation. I've actually signed up to be a trainer for that organisation. It's a not-for-profit organisation, started by a few guys who have made millions and millions out of Bitcoin, and now they want to educate the market. Although,
so how can they make it not-for-profit? What's the story there? That's what I was wondering.
Well, basically, like, I'm not telling stories outside of school because Jamie's made it public knowledge. He has, he bought into Bitcoin when it was 8 or 9 cents or something like that, and bought very heavily and wrote the book on it. So some of these guys have made tens of millions of dollars, and they've actually
where does the money go? That's what I'm asking.
They've thrown this money into an organisation to increase public awareness, because it seems like everyone's talking about Bitcoin, but when you check on the exchanges, there's 1 in 30,000 people who have a Bitcoin wallet. So although it seems like everybody's talking about Bitcoin, we haven't even reached 2% penetration yet. So there's really...
So the education that they have, I can see that's all paid education. It can get quite expensive. Where does that money go if it's not for profit?
Yep, that's a good question as well. And before we move on to the other questions, with that, there's a lot of free information. Jamie's giving away his book, so if you want a copy of How to Become a Bitcoin Millionaire, the link's on my website there. That's for free. That's like a 164-page book you get for free. There's also free videos, and if you do the paid training, which is a home study course, which is what I did as well. You pay $495 US, but you also get $495 worth of cryptocurrency with it. So essentially, the training is free.
Do you still get that? Because I saw on the site that ended at the end of December.
Okay, well that was a few days ago. So that's a possibility, because obviously with the initial coin offerings, they've got to close those off sooner or later. That special may be out there, but if you want to, as I say, like I've done the $495 training.
Is it good?
If you want to, yeah, it's good. I've learned a lot. If you want to do it, you can do it. Otherwise, what I want to do is I want to run these sessions every Monday and just say, buy me a cup of coffee. So every week, if everyone chips in $5, that covers the cost of my software and this whatever Zoom call thing and that sort of stuff. So if you don't want to do that course, then you're free to come along and join in on these calls.
Cool. Okay.
So, yeah, but it's really about the public education. That's what I'm doing at the moment, because we've gone from, you know, Bitcoin was just for the nerdy, geeky guys back in 2009 who were like, we want to have our own thing. We don't trust central banks. We don't trust governments. And it went from sort of 1 in 200,000 people to 1 in 100,000 people. Now it's 1 in 30,000 people.
Yeah.
But it's a long way away from being really mainstream, where you sort of walk into a shop and they go, we accept Visa card, MasterCard and Bitcoin.
Yeah. Can we swing back around to where the money's going with Bitcoining?
Well, they're actually paying presenters. They're looking for presenters. They're looking for trainers and things like that. That's why I say I'll be running a few seminars this year.
But so I see some of their packages are like $12,000. So if they've got, you know, 100 people doing that, that's a lot of money. Where does that money go? Or are they giving all of that to their trainers?
That's some super intense stuff that we're getting into there, which we won't get into on this call. But if you wanted to spend like $500,000 on a room full of computers and start mining Bitcoin, then you're really going to have to know what you're doing.
I don't want to do that, but I'm just saying, I'm just like trying to get my head around, if it's not for profit, where does all that money go?
Back into the organization to help spread the word and train people to make it more mainstream. So it's like a lot of not-for-profits. You know, they're building awareness and they're doing marketing and they're doing their thing. But most of these guys, honestly, they don't need the money. They really don't.
Okay. So, isn't it kind of more working on like an affiliate basis, Jeremy, where if I join at the $495 level and then I bring in 3 people, then I get a cut of their fee?
Yeah, they do give away 70% of the 70% of the training. The fees that they receive goes to the person who's actually facilitating the training. So yes, you can make money on that. So there was a video I did a couple of weeks ago, and it was 7 ways to make money out of Bitcoin. So if you've got your pens and papers, you might want to jot these ones down quickly. And one is through affiliates. So there's some people who are joining CoinSpot and Coinbase, and when you join your friends up, you actually make a couple of dollars, which, to be honest, I'm okay with, because if you wanted to buy shares from, say, Westpac Broking or CommSec or any one of the big banks, you're paying $19.95 a trade or $24.95 a trade, and all that money's going to the banks. And to be honest with you, when someone's buying shares on the internet, the transaction actually costs the bank about 3 or 4 cents. And they're charging you $20 for it and keeping the profit, right? Same as these people with the FPOS, we charge it, 50 cents extra for FPOS. It doesn't cost them anything. They're already connected to the internet. So what these guys are doing is saying, okay, you can join up CoinSpot, Coinbase, CoinJar, all these different wallets and exchanges. And let's say I was on CoinSpot and gave you my affiliate link. Then next time you pay, 50 cents for a trade or $5 for a trade, I might actually get a couple of cents out of that. So that's what's meant by the affiliate program. You're not going to get rich off an affiliate program, and unless you can convince 12,000 of your friends to all start trading heavily on a platform, it's not going to make you a fortune. But it's just one of the ways to make money. So let's start with number one and say that number one is affiliates. So you can join up with basically any of these websites, whether it's an educational website or an exchange or a wallet, and then you can share it with your friends. And that also helps. I mean, that's helping these companies to spread the word that they're in the space and that people can actually use this. Like as I say, there's 50 businesses in Brisbane right now where you can go and buy a coffee, get your hair cut, and you can pay for it with crypto rather than using your credit card. So number two is, of course, with the coins. You buy Bitcoin and you hold on to it. As I say, it might drop down 25%, might pick up 60% the next day. And sometimes it picks up 300%. So you can just buy and hold as long as you've got the stomach to deal with the ups and downs. The next way with the coins, of course, is trading. And that's what I've been doing for the last couple of weeks. Obviously, you want to see if you can buy for 1 cent or buy for $1, sell them for $2. That's basically the aim of that. Mining is one we mentioned before. A lot of people have heard about Bitcoin mining. You used to be able to do it on a laptop. Now you need a specialized machine. I was actually negotiating with a guy last night to build purpose-built machines for mining Bitcoin. He's managed to set up a couple of rigs, which are basically the size of an old desktop computer. And I'll have to check my notes here. He's been making, like, you basically just turn on the computer and you'll use about as much power as you do running the spare beer fridge at home. And for about $4,000, you can have a machine sitting on your desk that just passively brings in between $7 and $20 a day. Now, it doesn't sound like a lot, but an extra $100 a week would certainly offset the cost of the electricity and maybe, you know, buy you a carton of beer or something like that. For $5,000, you can have a machine with 2 cards in it, and that'll bring you in between $14 to $40 a day. So again, just having something passively sitting there, like running a spare fridge or something like that, that will actually pick you up some extra money. There's lots of little ways of making little amounts of money. Of course, you can make $10,000 in a single trade if you get lucky. But obviously affiliate programs and mining operations are where you can just sort of trickly, you know, make 10 or 20 or $40 every single day. That is good over the long term.
Can I ask a question about 2 and 3?
Yes.
So buying Bitcoins and holding, but trading, what's the difference between, because you're saying, yeah, what's the difference between trading and buying?
Well, if you buy it, yeah, buy it and hold it. Like in the olden days, you'd buy some Westpac shares or some Woolworths shares, and you just stick them in the bottom drawer and you don't check them, because you know that Westpac's always going to be in business and making a profit. You know that Woolworths is always going to be selling food and selling petrol to people, so you know it's going to be okay. Now, obviously, we have things like a war breaks out and the stock market might go down by 20%. People panic, but if you don't sell, you don't lose the money. And you know, when we had 9/11, the plane crash came down and the National Bank shares went from $36 down to $24. But if you didn't sell them, 6 weeks later, they were back up and they were in fact in front of where they were before the plane crash. So buy and hold is a good long-term strategy. And obviously you want to pick a coin, you know, like the Bitcoin and Ethereum, the main ones on the exchanges, where you think they're still going to be around in the next 12 months, 20 years, whatever. Buy and hold is very, very simple. And a lot of people have gotten very rich from doing that, particularly with Bitcoin and Ethereum, which were selling for a few cents only just a few years ago. Obviously with the trading, that's where you could, so again, going back to the example of the National Bank, if you happen to suspect there was going to be a terrorist attack the next day, you could have sold the National Bank shares at 36. Then the day after the plane crash, when they were 24, you buy them back again. And then 6 weeks later, you sell them again. So trading is more of an active thing. Buying and holding is more of a passive thing. And it depends on your personality type. If you have high blood pressure, weak heart, anything like that, I would suggest you
I'd stress if I was trading. I'd be looking at the price all day long. I'd be like, do I or don't I?
Yeah. That
Welcome to the crypto world.
Thanks, Tyler.
Thanks, Tyler. Sorry?
Hi. Hi, Jeremy. I'm Lauren. I'm Tracy's daughter. I'm just sitting in listening as well.
Yep.
When you say buy and hold, how long would you hold for? Is it like, 10 years, or is it a year? Like, how long are we holding for? Are you just watching it to when it gets to a level that you feel confident to take it out, or do you literally just leave it as in it's going to be your super in, like, for me, 40 years time?
Yeah, that could be a very good thing to do. I mean, imagine if you'd bought, like, I don't know how old you are, but back in 1990, I think it was, the Commonwealth Bank came out and on the market and sold their shares for about $9. And I remember probably about 96, 97, Westpac shares were $9. So if you bought them and just held on, then you're doing very well. There has been ups and downs, there has been fluctuations, but obviously you wouldn't just buy shares in one, because let's say something terrible happens and Commonwealth Bank explodes in a ball of flames, then obviously the other three banks are going to pick up more business. If Woolworths disappears overnight, then Coles and Aldi are going to start selling all the groceries to everybody, and Coles and Aldi shares are going to go up. So that's why you diversify and say, if I had shares in all four banks, if one goes down, then the other three are going to go up. And if I've got shares in Coles and Aldi and Woolworths and IGA, then it doesn't matter. If one goes broke, people have got to buy their food from somewhere.
So are there four top cryptocurrencies we should be looking at, or does that change constantly?
It has changed a little bit. I mean, Bitcoin is probably always going to be there. It was the original one. The technology on Bitcoin is now 8 or 9 years old. It's slowing down. So, Dash and Ethereum and Litecoin can actually do these operations faster. But there's still some people who don't trust them, because obviously Bitcoin's got the grandfather clause. It's been around the longest. And because it's open source, there's people working on Bitcoin to actually make it faster. And there's a lot of exchanges who, like, if you want to buy, I'm just making this up, if you want to buy some particular coin, say, IOTA or Zcash or something like that, then you will actually need to use Bitcoin to buy on their exchange. I was talking to someone today. It's kind of like the US dollar, and all the oil contracts and the gold contracts are settled in US dollars, even though, we've got euros, and now we've got this, and now we've got that. So Bitcoin is kind of like the US dollar standard. It's not the best one to be gambling on, because there's more fluctuations and more high returns from other coins. But if you want to buy and hold, then obviously Bitcoin, Ethereum, the other ones that are on Coinbase, Litecoin and Dash. So they're the top four at the moment. I think Ripple's trying to go in there at the moment, and also another one vying for third or fourth place. But if you want to hold 3 or 4 coins, just look at what the main ones are that are being accepted at the moment. So what number did we get up to? We've done mining. So if anybody's interested in mining and having a spare little appliance sitting on top of their fridge. Next one is ICO, what they call an initial coin offering, which is like an initial public offering for shares. So I said when Telstra launched, or when Commonwealth Bank launched, some of you guys will remember when Telstra launched for the first time. The shares came out at about $3 and they rapidly went up to $9. And within 2 years, I think they were back down to 5 and stayed there for a very long time. But when a coin first comes out, the tendency is for it to take off very quickly. That's a place where you can actually make money in the market. I've done this with shares as well. When Clive Peters listed on the stock exchange, when AMP listed on the stock exchange, and they went up about 30% on the first day. And one of the strategies I was talking about the other day, which you may have seen on Facebook, is when it goes up by 50% or when it goes up by 100%, you take back your initial cash that you put into it. So, okay, now I've got my money back, and those shares that I've got, they can just ride. They can sit there, they can grow in value to $10,000, or they can disappear in a ball of flames. I don't care, because I've got my money back. I made my money on day one, and now I can put my money into something else. So, any questions on the ICO, or we move on to pre-ICO?
So, ICO and pre-ICO. So I was going to ask about the thing that Bitcoin Inc. were doing. They're a token is for a pre-ICO, is it?
Yeah, I believe that one may have closed now. I can't keep track of whether it's December or January. It's the 8th of the 1st, 18 right now, so it's 8118. Very nice. So that's just one of the coins. Obviously, there's a lot of coins that have come out. There's Kryptonite, there's Dubai coin, there's Quark.
Oh, Kryptonite sounds fun.
There's over 2,000 coins at the moment, and there's around about half a dozen, like 6 to 10 being added every single day. I saw one the other day which was called the Jesus coin and said, we're going to decentralize sin and bring Jesus to the blockchain. So that was a joke, but they raised about $180,000 with this valueless thing that does nothing.
So can anyone do that? And so therefore people that probably have a big following, like the Justin Bieber coin or the,
Yep, and someone's already on top of that. That's an excellent question. Because most of this stuff is open source. It's like the internet is open source, so anybody can build a website, right? You can't hack into your Microsoft and change the way that Word operates or change the way that your iPhone operates without voiding your warranty, of course. But because this is open source, people can get in there on the Ethereum network and they can make their own coin. So there's a group called Indahash, I-N-D-A hash, and they're making vanity coins. So you can have the Justin Bieber coin and the Taylor Swift coin. And what they're saying is it's bringing people closer to the fans. So let's say what I was doing was sharing my stuff, and instead of paying Zuckerberg $3 every time you saw my ad, I was paying Natalie 3 times every time she shared my posts. So Taylor Swift would take a picture and say, I've got a new album coming out, and everybody who shares that on their social media would pick up 1 Taylor coin. And then everyone who likes her post would pick up 1 Taylor coin. And over time, you get 25 Taylor coins, which you could use to buy a t-shirt, or you could use to get half-price concert tickets. It's a really good way of connecting the fans with the people. There's a lot of good ideas out there. This is basically, the blockchain is like the internet all over again. And when we first had the internet, we were just sending messages to each other. We didn't have email. There was just like group chat, and you'd type something and everyone would see it and you'd send it back. That was what I was part of back in 95, 96, is these relay chats. And then someone said, hey, wouldn't it be great to have private email? Wouldn't it be great if we could send 1 email to 10 people and have those 10 people reply? Wouldn't it be great if we could make a phone call to China instead of paying $35 a minute? We could do it for free over the internet. And then someone says, oh, let's make video calls or video conferences like what we've got here. So there's new stuff coming out all the time. And Tyler's put a comment in there before saying he likes to look at what things that are doing good for the world. And that's what I've been looking at as well. You'll talk to some of these traders or people who say, I bought XRP for this and I sold it for that, and I bought TMZ for this and I sold it for that. And if you ask them what the coin is, they have no idea. They're just looking at charts going up and down and go, oh, this one looks like it's going up, so I'll buy it. This one looks like it's going down, so I won't buy it. But particularly when you're looking at the buy and hold ones, that's where I really like to have a look at what they're going to be doing for the world and how they're going to be helping people, bringing people closer together. And of course, cutting out the middlemen, cutting out the stock exchanges, cutting out the banks, cutting out the governments. So I think my assistant Muliani is here on the call somewhere. She's in Bali, and I actually sent her Christmas bonus through Bitcoin. And last time I tried to send money to Indonesia or Africa, I had to pay the banks, and it cost $79. Whether you send $100 or whether you send $200, it costs $79. But I think it cost about 16 cents to transfer that money to Muliani like that. So it's just amazing technology. So we'll go into having a look at the coins, and I'll explain some of the ones that I've studied and what they do. And I would like for you guys to have some homework for next week, all right? Because this is going to help out the whole group. So if you can do your own research, find 3 coins that you just want to find a little bit of information on. Find out some of the new things, because I can't keep up with 2,000 coins. I can't keep up with 10 every single day, and find out. And you can come back to the group next week and say, look, I've discovered this one that does this. So we'll just finish off the last couple of out of the 7 ways to make money, and then work into the coins. So we've done the ICO. The pre-ICO is before it goes to market. So I think Sandy was talking before about the BitX coin before it went to market. Like, he was going to list at $1, but if you got in early, you could buy it for like 8 cents, 10 cents, 20 cents. And they did the same thing with Indahash. If you were lucky enough to find out about Indahash, you could actually buy in for like 50 cents in the dollar. Every now and then you'll see them advertised on trading pages. I opened an account at SpectroCoin, and there was an ad up the top for a new coin launch coming out called Bankera. And Bankera is actually already linked in with the bank. So it's a crypto, but you can use your credit card with it. You can have a savings account with it. While you're not using your crypto for trading or whatever, it's just sitting around your wallet, you can actually get interest on it. So Bankera was an upcoming launch or a pre-ICO. And so I bought into that one. It's not listed, you can't actually sell it. And you're basically locking your money up in there for maybe a month at a time or 2 months at a time until it actually comes to the market. So it's a little bit more high risk in the fact that you can't get your money back out, but you're not going to see your money disappear because it hasn't been traded yet. It's just another way rather than the ICO. I don't know, we're up to number 7 or 9 or something out of 7 now. The education space is one where you can make money as well, because if you know 5% more than somebody else, you can be their guru, their advisor. Okay, as I said in the email, like I'm new into this space. I've been in this space for 18 months, certainly not as long as Jamie or my friend Tom, who have been in there since like 2010, 2012. I don't know as much as those guys, but I do hang out with those guys, you know, and I learn from them. And I'm paying for a few newsletters. I'm in some private groups on Facebook and other social media at the moment where I'm learning lots of things from other people. And, you know, as I said, I want to be helping out, spreading the word next year, and I fully intend to be getting paid for that. If I'm standing on a stage or running a webinar such as this, getting paid for educating others. And as I say, I might know 10% more than what Matt does. I might know 1% more than what Tracy does, but that's okay, you know, because we're all learners. I only need to have a second class education to be able to teach the kids in first class. That's all that's needed in that space.
Oh, I've got a question again. Can I please jump in? Sorry.
Yeah.
But
you're excited, Sandy.
I am. I'm very excited. I love the idea of Bitcoin. Going back to the pre-ICO, I noticed that BitX coin, it says it's not available to Australian retail investors. What's the difference between, I don't know, what's a retail investor?
Wholesale versus retail? I would guess if you're reselling it. That would be my guess. I'm not sure. I'd have to look at the terms and conditions on the site. Obviously, you've spent a lot more time reading the fine print than what I did.
Oh no, I just jumped on just to see if it was, because it says the price jumps to 12 cents after round 2, which is February the 15th. And then just under that, in really small writing, it says it's not open to people in the US and Singapore residents. It's not available to Australian retail investors. Yeah,
I'm thinking maybe that might be talking about like the banks and the life insurance companies and these kind of guys. I'm not sure. Okay. I'm really not sure. Okay. I'd have to look into that one. So I'll write that down on my list. That'll be my homework for next week.
Cool, thanks.
Alrighty. So we've got 2 to go, I think. Education. We've done the affiliates. And the last one is arbitrage, which I also mentioned on a video previously. If you haven't seen my YouTube videos or my Facebook videos, then I'll put a link in there, but it's youtube.com/24hour wealth coach. And arbitrage is basically just taking advantage of the fact that this market is totally unregulated. Like in Australia, we've got the Australian Stock Exchange. It's open from 9:30 in the morning till 4 o'clock in the afternoon. If you want to sell your shares after dinner time, you can't. You have to wait till the morning. And the US market is obviously open, 9 to 5, whatever their time is, whatever time that is in Australia, I don't know. But this market is open 24 hours a day. It can't be stopped by the banks. It can't be stopped by the governments. It can't be controlled by anyone. And let's just say, for example, that everyone in New Zealand tomorrow woke up and decided to buy Bitcoin, then they're the first ones on the international dateline. So the Bitcoin price will go through the roof on the New Zealand exchange. But it's going to be 3 hours before people in Australia find out that Bitcoin's moved from 20,000 to 25,000. So what you could actually do is, if you're on the Australian exchange, you could jump on the Australian exchange and buy a truckload of Bitcoin at 20,000 and hold on to it, or you could flick it across to the New Zealand exchange and sell it on there for 25,000 straight away. Now, if you open up, and it's free to open up these exchange accounts. So you can open up accounts in Korea and Singapore and USA and Australia and wherever you like. I'm on one in China. And so there's people who are buying stuff while I'm sleeping, and there's people who are sleeping while I'm buying stuff. Sometimes you'll get lucky and you'll find, you know, maybe $500 difference between the coin on this exchange to that exchange. So you buy it here, transfer it over to the other exchange, which normally costs you only a few cents, and then you sell it on that exchange. So that's a really quick explanation of arbitrage, because I did promise we were going to start on time, finish on time, and have a good time. So any other questions before we move on to the coins? And everybody's gone quiet.
I have a question.
Oh, yeah, even Sandy's quiet. Yep, go for it.
So you're talking about these new coins. Who makes a coin, and how is it worth anything? I don't know anything much about it, so this might be for a different conversation. But that's probably a really good one. If you jump onto the Cryllionaire.com website and just put in your email address, you'll get the book and you'll get the free videos. Because the free videos are just basically a really small explanation. But just quickly, it's based on the fact that Bitcoin, there's only ever 21 million Bitcoin, and that's like we're still pumping oil out of the ground. But eventually we're going to run out of oil. We're still digging gold out of the ground, but eventually we're going to run out of gold. There's not any new stuff being created. So scarcity is one thing that drives the price. And obviously the ease of use is another thing that drives the price. So I can't walk up to you. Sorry, is it Lisa? Lauren, sorry. I can't walk up to you, Lauren, and say, look, I'd like to buy your car. Here's 4 barrels of oil. Like, the barrels of oil are worth more than the car, but there's not much you can do with them. You've got to cart them around, and who are you going to sell them to? Or if I walked up to you with a gold bar, what are you going to do with a gold bar? Do you know where to keep it, who to sell it to, what to do with it? So these things, again, they're limited in quantity, but I can instantly email it to someone else. And unlike when I'm, downloading those movies from Disneyland, I can share copies with 20 other people, and it doesn't diminish the quality. But once I send a Bitcoin to someone else, it's gone from me. And there's stories of people out there who have lost their computers, lost their hard drives, lost their password, and they can't get their Bitcoin back. It's like you dropped your gold bar into the sea. Nobody can get it anymore. It's gone. So it's scarcity, but also it's the Winklevoss twins who helped start Facebook. They called it Gold 2.0. And these guys, when they sued Mark Zuckerberg for kicking them out of Facebook, I think they picked up about $11 million, and they put their $11 million into Bitcoin back when Bitcoin was under $1. So now they're sitting on like $10 billion in Bitcoin.
I'm happy for them, because, I mean, I know there was a whole thing, but it's like, it's good that they've made their gazillions as well as Mark.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I have a question about arbitrage as opposed to trading.
Yep.
So what's the difference between, if you buy and then you're selling, you're buying it low because you know it's up somewhere else? What's the difference between that and just trading?
Because if you're trading on the one platform. So you'd buy it on Coinbase and then you'd sell it on Coinbase the next day. There's no transfer. But this is literally transferring from an Australian stock exchange to the US stock exchange and selling it to them for hire. So there's a little step in between. So you'd have to have several different exchange accounts open.
Yeah, gotcha. Okay.
And when you guys are doing your research for next week, that's a subliminal mind programming that you are going to do your homework. You will find that different coins are available on different exchanges. So, if you hear about the Indahash coin, you say, I'd like to have my own, Sandy Forster coin or Natalie Ziegler coin. I'd like to have a Roxanne coin. You'd have to jump onto Indahash, and that's only sold on one particular exchange. It's not on Coinbase. It's not on CoinSpot. So you'll open an account there to buy that. So I had to open an account on SpectroCoin to buy Bankera, but then I can buy other coins. And I had to open an account on Binance to buy one coin, but then I can buy 20 other coins on there.
Mm-hmm.
So when you've all got your pens and pencils there, I'm thinking this is recording too, hopefully. I don't know. Tyler will tell me about that. He does webinars all the time. If it doesn't record you, I hope you got your notes. Otherwise, I'll whack it up on YouTube and send you the link after this. So the wallets, I use Coinbase, Blockchain, and CoPay. Those are the 3 wallets I use. There's many, many wallets out there, and they should all be free. The exchanges, BTC Markets, Binance, which is like finance with a B. That's actually the biggest one in the world, simply because that's the one the majority of the Chinese use. So there's like 1 billion people on there. CoinSpot is another one, Cryptonymous, and it's the American spelling without the U, and SpectroCoin, which I mentioned earlier. So those are like the main exchanges that I use, but every time a new coin comes out, we'll probably have to open up another exchange. So now, as far as the coins, and again, write these down just in case the recording crashes. I will get better at the technology, I promise. I promise. There's a coin called Credo, C-R-E-D-O, and everybody hates spam email, but some people do occasionally buy crap from spam email, and it's basically paying people for reading the spam email. It's like if you got a job reading junk mail to test it for spelling errors or whether the photos were flipped around the wrong way and that sort of stuff. So if you're interested in finding about new specials and looking at all the shopper dockets, Credo is a coin that will actually reward you for reading spam email. So you get paid in the Credo coin, which means it will become a new currency. Again, we're comparing Bitcoin to gold or silver or oil or US dollars and things like that. Another coin called BitPay, and all I know about BitPay is that Richard Branson was the first investor into that one, and he's not stupid. Branson was one of the first businesses, his businesses, what's it called? Virgin Galactic. Virgin Galactic is actually selling flights for Bitcoin, and the Winklevoss twins, of course, the first billionaires in Bitcoin, have bought their flights on Virgin Galactic using Bitcoin. A couple of other places, Tesla, you can buy a Tesla car using Bitcoin. Lamborghini is also selling Lamborghinis using Bitcoin. Anybody who wants to check out BitPay, please come back and share with me. As I say, I'm finding it hard to keep up with 6 to 10 new coins every single day. Another one that Branson is into is called Power Ledger, just spelled exactly how it sounds. The abbreviation is POWR. And if anybody's got solar panels on their roof, they will know that a while back there was this thing that if you're generating more solar power than you actually used, you could sell your power back to the electricity company, and you could actually make a few dollars on that. Not making as much now that they've... What's that?
Sorry, I'm on that one already. And
you're on Power Ledger.
Yeah, exciting. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. So the way it works is they're basically cutting out the electricity company. So if I'm storing up electricity here with my solar panels, rather than selling them to Energex or Origin or whoever, and then them selling them to someone else and then making a profit in the middle, I can literally sell my electricity to Matt, or I can sell it to Roxanne, or I can sell it to Tracy. Cuts out the middleman. So Power Ledger, Branson was one of the first investors into that as well. Again, we're sharing resources, cutting out the middleman. Origin Energy has actually bought into Power Ledger because they can see the writings on the wall for electricity companies. So that's interesting. It's interesting to see some of the big banks are now buying into Bitcoin and Ethereum, because the days of the bank being the middleman are going to be over very, very soon. So next one that I've got written down is called Hive, as in beehive. And if anybody's ever gone in to buy something, rent something, rent a car or something like that, they say, oh, we've got to do a credit check. And sometimes that can take 24, 48 hours. You wonder why when we've got the speed of email. So Hive actually does real-time credit checks. So if you skip paying your electricity bill in the morning and then want to go and rent a car in the afternoon, look out, they'll be onto you straight away. That's an example of one that's really going to speed up things and using technology to help people and help businesses. Dragon, spelt exactly like the big fire-breathing dragon, is a coin that's put out by Disney. And Disney's one of the wealthiest companies in the world right now. You know, they've taken over Star Wars and all of those things. Now that's an interesting one because they've got a private network and a public network. And most of these other coins and the blockchains are public, open source. Anybody can get in there and play around with them and mess with them and change the code and improve it. Disney's got a private network, which I'm thinking is where they'll actually be able to send you a movie and it disappears from their end. Like we were talking about before, like in the olden days when you download illegal movies, I could share it with 10 people and still keep my copy. But with Bitcoin and Ethereum, you send those to someone and you've lost yours. So this is what Disney's working on at the moment. Disney's all over blockchain. They're right into it. Rentberry, as in B-E-R-R-Y, Rentberry, is one that I got into a week or two ago. And that's really set to revolutionize the rental and real estate industry. So it's interesting when you go to jump on a place with Airbnb, person who you're renting from, they can check you out on social media. They can check whether you're 5-star rated. They can check whether you're a good tenant or not. And then they can charge you straight away. You pay the money, you get the keys to the house and you're in. Sometimes in less than 24 hours, sometimes in a couple of hours if you've been on Airbnb. But yet, if you wanted to go and rent a house and live in it for 12 months, you've got to go down to the real estate agent. You've got to fill in forms. They've got to do a background check, criminal history check, credit check. Takes 2 weeks, and then you might not actually get into the place. So what Rentberry is doing is basically bringing the same technology that Airbnb has got to the rental industry. So the people who want to rent the house can deal directly with the owner. The owner can actually see your social media profiles and your driver's license and that sort of stuff to verify you are who you say you are and see what ratings that you've had. There won't be any need for you to be going through a property manager or a real estate agent. And it's going to be very, very fast. It's going to revolutionize the rental industry. So I'm 100% behind that one. Bankera, B-A-N-K-E-R-A, we talked about that one before. It's already hooked in with a major bank, so can supply those banking products. If you're not familiar with the coffee shop that actually takes the Bitcoin and you want to go in there and buy a coffee and you've only got Bitcoin on your phone, you can actually have a Bankera credit card and go in and buy that. Ripple, just as Ripple's on the ocean, that's a similar thing, tied in again with a big bank. So you can have banking products, you can get interest, you can get credit cards and loans with your crypto. So it's kind of a halfway step as well for those people who are sort of cautious about, I've got my credit card, I've got my bank loan, I've got my bank account, I don't really understand Bitcoin. This is a halfway step, it's like the bridging step. Where do I buy Ripple from? I can't recall where I bought it from. I think I bought it on Binance. Yes, Binance. Good question.
I have a question about...
I have a question.
Sorry.
I go?
Yep.
Go, Sandy. I'll talk after you.
Okay. Thank you. I've got a question, and it might seem a bit silly, but so if there's so many coins coming out, does having a lot of coins impact another coin? So for instance, I know Bitcoin is a set amount, so obviously that's always going to go up because there's a set amount. Does every coin have a set amount, and does having all these coins make other coins less valuable, or how do they all kind of impact each other?
Let me ask you the question, Sandy. If I had $100,000 of US dollars, does that make your Australian dollars less valuable?
No.
All right. Okay. So every now and then you'll see a coin go bust. I mean, we've seen in more recent times the Zimbabwe dollar had hyperinflation and there was $100 trillion, and then eventually just people started throwing out the Zimbabwe dollar and then using US dollars. So the Zimbabwe dollar just died, it disappeared. I think Venezuela or one of those South American countries has had the same thing where they've just thrown the currency out and started again. So of the 2,000 something coins that have been started in the last couple of years, there's now 250 which are dead. They're just dead. They're on. If you look on deadcoins.com, they're there, and they're worthless. But the interesting thing is, if you go back and just run a computer program, and say, what if I put $1,000 into every single coin when it first came out? Even with the 250 that you've lost 100% of your money, it's all gone. But the other ones have made so much money that you wouldn't care. I was actually chatting with one of my clients this morning and said, you know, if I'd come to you 10 years ago and said, mate, put $1,000 into MySpace, put $1,000 into Facebook, put $1,000 into Netscape Navigator and $1,000 into Google. Well, as we know right now, Netscape Navigator is gone. MySpace is gone. But you've made so much money on the other two that you just don't care.
Yeah,
and
so
this is the number one reason for diversifying.
Gotcha.
Can I ask a question? I see that there's been a whole bunch of stuff about that USI tech.
Yes.
I saw so many people on my Facebook referring and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And I took $100 and I threw it into there just to see how it worked before I knew about how you could just buy stuff and exchange without, you know, anyone meddling.
We're all learners, Roxy. We're all learners. It's okay.
Don't say anything bad because I was in it too.
Yeah. Well, I mean, at least only a tiny little bit. I don't actually quite understand what's happening with that and how it will affect. Well, it doesn't look good, but how
there's 4 or 5 companies who started up. Like once Bitcoin started getting exciting and people are talking about I made 64,000% or I made 3,000%, then there was a few people who went, I'm going to start a multi-level marketing company around this. And sometimes that does not end well. You know, I mean, there's a couple of good multi-level marketing companies if you're into buying high-priced washing powder or something like that. And those ones have been around for 20, 30 years. But there's a lot of other ones that disappear overnight. And these guys, I'm hearing the news secondhand. But when they got caught doing something they weren't quite supposed to be doing, rather than appease the regulators and change what they were doing, they just pulled out. So America's got 400 million people and Canada's like 100 million people. So there's now 500 million people that can no longer be in that program. So if you're in that program and you're trying to recruit someone, it's suddenly got a lot harder. But the other thing is, because they use this robot that's making the trades for you, you never learn shit. So if you caught taxis your entire life, doesn't mean you can drive a car. And you can't brag to people how fast you got from home to the airport when you weren't driving. So, you know, I've always been about the education. Even when I was, you know, many years in financial planning, I would educate people. This is how to do it, like showing someone how to change the oil in their car. If you don't want to do it, but you understand how to do it, that's okay. So I've had some people who have come to me and said, okay, show me how this works. I've explained it to them how it works. And then one person said, look, I don't have time to do that. Here's $5,000, you go and do it for me. And I went, okay, I will. But at least they know how it works, what I'm doing. It's all transparent. And if they wanted to, and if I got hit by a bus, that person could go off and trade their own stuff. So I don't like the black box solutions. I mean, there's black box programs that say they're going to win the horse races, or they're going to win the stock market, or they're going to do that sort of stuff. But if you've got no idea what's going on inside of there, number one, you're not learning anything. Number two, you can't do it for yourself. And if they take it away from you, like it's happened in the USA and Canada, all of a sudden you're on your own. So it's not that it's evil, it's just I don't like it because it doesn't allow for you to become a better person and a smarter person.
So that these people are actually relying on these referrals or signing other people to make money rather than actual packages making money that way.
No, the packages make money, and I mean that was the good side of it. But you did actually make Bitcoin packages from referring people. So there was kind of 2 angles to it.
There's a multi-level side to it, and there's the robot trades. But even if it wasn't multi-level, as I say, there's some good multi-level companies. Even if it wasn't multi-level, I still wouldn't like it because of the robot trades. My intent is for everybody to learn how to do it themselves. Once you've learned how to do it, then you can decide whether you want to or not. I know how to clean a toilet because I cleaned a fucking shite load of toilets when I was putting myself through university, but I don't want to clean my toilet anymore. So I pay someone to do that. I know how to change a tire, but now I pay someone to do that because I don't want to do it.
And I think the good thing about USI for me was it actually got me started. And so now I'm at that point where I want to learn how to do it myself. I think
that's the same thing for me as well. I only knew about this through somebody referring me to that. And then I started researching more about Bitcoin. It sort of got me excited about learning more, because you couldn't really learn more on the other side. So,
excellent. Whatever got you in, you know, whether it's greed, whether it's curiosity, you know, whether it's my friend down the road made $64 million out of it, or whether you just hate the banks and hate the governments, that's all good. Whatever got you in, you're here. The more you can learn, the better off you're going to be. There's two more coins I want to hit you with, because we don't want to get tied up in what robots are doing.
Okay, before you get there, can I just have a question about coin?
About what, sorry?
The two last points that you mentioned, so Bankera and Ripple.
Yeah.
I just have a question about the fact that they are coming back to being centralized, and I would be very interested in your opinion on how things are. We're trying to move to being decentralized, and my feeling around specifically Ripple, but by the sounds of it, Bankera as well, is that it's moving back to a centralized system. Or am I
Here's one for you, Amanda. As I sent out a lot of Bitcoin to a lot of people at Christmas because I'd done very well, and it was a quick and easy gift. I just press a button on my phone and I send it to them. So most people under the age of 50 were like, oh, great, that's fantastic. And they pressed a couple of buttons, they open up a wallet. But when I sent money to my mum on Bitcoin, my mum just got really confused, and it was too complicated, and she thought she had to remember the 12 random words as a password, and it was just too hard for her. So my mum is still going to be in the banking system, you know, and it's not just an age thing. It's just some people feel more secure in the banking system. So Bankera and Ripple is just a chance for them to step part way into decentralization without going all the way. I mean, I'm all the way in because, you know, I did 10 years in the bank and I hate the banks, and I've always hated government.
I hear you. Yep,
This is just it's a short step towards the close. There's a couple more coins I want to go into before we close up, because we do want to finish on time out of respect for everybody's time, and also to make you hungry for more information next week when you're all going to come back and share your favorite 3 coins. So the last 2 that I've actually been buying into, one is called Cryllionaire. It's kind of like a combination of Ethereum and crypto. It's actually a bridge between the blockchains. And Lambden, L-A-M-D-E-N, is also a similar thing. So back in the olden days, before the internet was a thing, Steve Jobs left Apple. He created the Next computer company, NEXT, and the Next computer could be plugged into a modem and it could talk to another computer, but it could only talk to Next computers. It couldn't talk to IBM's, it couldn't talk to Apple's, okay? That was like the very first iteration of the internet. After that, of course, we have this internet. It doesn't matter whether you're on your phone, whether you're on PC, whether you're on IBM, Asus, Apple, whatever, all of the computers can talk to each other now. Up until now, there hasn't been a way for Ethereum to talk to blockchain, to talk to Bitcoin, to talk to this coin, to talk to that one. They're all on their own little networks. So Cryllionaire and Lambden are both working to make sure that these things can actually share information right across the sources. One last coin I want to mention is called Monero, M-O-N-E-R-O. And it's just fun because it's totally anonymous. Anybody who tells you that the blockchain is anonymous, well, it kind of is, because you've all had to show your passports or your driver's license or your whatever to open your account. So the bank doesn't know you got an account. The government doesn't know you got an account, like having a little Swiss bank in your pocket. Once I sent money to Muliani, or once I sent money to my mum, they get my account number. If they know my account number, they can search the entire blockchain and they can see how much money I've spent and where it's gone to, right? This is why some of the fraudulent guys are being found out, because you can look on the blockchain, they say they made $10 million and they don't have $10 million. It's pretty easy to find out. So again, you can't just sort of read the blockchain like you read the matrix and know everybody's business. You'd have to have the person's number first. So you've got to find a way of either sending them money or receiving money from them. Once you've found their information, then you can read through and look at it. So Monero is totally anonymous. It's encrypted all the way up the wazoo. It's very popular for people who are doing illegal things, drug deals and all sorts of stuff like that. So it's kind of like invisible gold, if you will, Sandy. That one's an interesting one because I think there's always going to be a market for it. You know, I don't support people selling drugs or doing illegal activities, but if that stuff's going to go on, I may as well make a profit from it. And then when I make the profit, I'll go and do something good with the profit. Now, I got slammed by Christian groups back when I was financial planning because I bought into the first legal brothel. I had shares in alcohol companies and tobacco companies and things like that that they considered sinful. And I said, well, it doesn't mean I'm going to the brothel. It doesn't mean I'm drinking all the beer. I'm just making money from the other people who do. And when I made those profits, I gave $20,000 to the church and shut them up. And kept a bit for myself, of course. So,
Jeremy, can I ask you a question? It's Tracy.
You got 6 seconds, darling.
Okay. As I said, I'm really new. So with the Bitcoins, what's the difference between the coins and the wallets? Like, does it go into, do you put them in wallets, or how does that work? Coins
go in the wallet. Absolutely.
Okay. And if you just say you're going to start out and you had $1,000, would you put maybe split that between 3 different coins?
Absolutely. Yeah. Definitely diversify.
How do you know which to start with?
That's a really good question. You might want to start with the 3 main ones that you find on your wallet. So as I say, if you've got basic questions like how do I set up a wallet or how do I get onto an exchange, I will be changing the Cryllionaire.com website in the next couple of days, because right now you can just get some basic YouTube clips and a copy of Jamie's book about Bitcoin. But I'm going to put my book on there as well and a few other resources and some of my videos. So there'll be some basic steps like that to get you started. So if everybody can please commit to next week, start on time, finish on time, have a great time. And if you'd like to buy me a cup of coffee, I'll throw a link in there that you can pay $5 into my Bitcoin wallet or into PayPal if you don't have Bitcoin yet. And next week, if you bring back your homework, 3 coins that you like, and then we'll have a bit of a discussion. And obviously, you know, with Tracy, you don't want to buy the wrong coin. So if you come back and you've picked 3 duds, we're hoping some of the other people in the group will be able to tell you, I don't like those, and here's why.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Sounds good?
Yeah.
Excellent.
Thanks, Jeremy.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Have a great night.
Jeremy,
Thank you, Jeremy. Bye.